Welcome to the Before Skynet podcast with your host, Mr. Rock himself. And this week I have a very, very, very special guest in the building. Sherry, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling the tech space,
Yeah.
but excited to be here.
Cool. I'm excited to have you here. I'm all geeked out
Yes.
that you're here. Okay, so as I'm continuing with the series, I'm just trying to, dig into, people's thoughts and views of how and where we're going with technology. But also we want to talk about things of the past. So, where technology started for each of us, how we've lived through it and how we're using it in current day. But also we want to discuss how to put ourselves in the best positions for the future. Okay. You down with that?
I'm ready for it.
Okay, let's get on this journey. Okay, so first of all, I just want to know a little bit about you, and you can share, any of your stories relating to technology or anything that you've used. But first of all, who are you?
Well, a little bit about me. So I'm Sherry Brown, and I've worked in the education space for the last 16 years. I feel kind of privileged to be in that space because I get to learn a lot from the students. I work with undergrad and graduate students. So, that 18 to 25 age group.
Yeah.
And the benefit of it is that they keep me current. But they also remind me how old I am and how dated I can be and how much more I have to learn.
Yeah.
So between them and my wonderful two kids, I get to stay current, whether it be with music, with technology,
Yeah.
good food venues around the place.
Cool.
I'm really about the food venues,
Yeah.
but I could keep up with that. But right now, I'm just trying to get a little bit more understanding of the tech space. So I really benefit from being in that space with them.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, just like myself, really, where I work in an environment, I'm around a lot of younger people myself. So it does keep me current in terms of things that are going on. Sometimes I get caught up in, even if it's music related, I'm like, what is this? And try and connect myself to the youth again and be like, okay, now I'm current. But yeah, I think it's really good. And I do encourage a lot of people to actually stay in touch with young people. As much as you grow older and, you be in your own comfort zones and surroundings, you still need to connect with the young because they are the future. And
They really are.
Yeah. And they're the people that are going to be supporting us when we get old, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's starting so much younger now. Like I think of like a few years ago, I had my iPhone and this little 10-year-old comes up to me and he's like, oh, your phone's moving so slow. You need to close all the apps. And he presses the button and he swipes up all the apps and closes it. I had the phone for over a year. No one even told me that I was supposed to do this step. And here comes this little kid that obviously has access to iPhone and knows what to do.
Yeah.
And to some people, it sounds really simple. It's like, how does she not know how to close all those apps? But for me, I was like blown away by it. That one, he knew that was the issue that I was having with the phone. And then immediately the phone started functioning and operating so much better.
Yeah.
And, I had to go back to someone and say, what did he do? Just show me what he was doing to get that to work better. So it's like, it just shows how much younger they're learning and how much more we need to know if we want to be able to do things efficiently as well, as simple as using our phone.
Yeah. I think that's a real key point to highlight, the fact that we're kind of in between the older generation, the younger generation. Sometimes we can get the younger ones to teach even the older ones and, maintain their relationship and their connection.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that we encourage that a lot more,
Well, to add to that story, so recently some family members are going back home, and back home is Vinci. So let me big up St. Vincent right now, okay? So, but they went home, they landed, they unpacked their iPads. Seniors love their iPads because that's how they get to spend their retirement time playing all these different games. But they got settled in, and my little 7-year-old brother went, and he was the one. It wasn't my parents. it wasn't another adult. It was this 7-year-old that went and set up all of their technology, that went
What?
and set up their Wi-Fi to their tablets, set up their phones, figured out if they needed any apps and told them about all these different suggestions.
Yeah.
So it just shows you that, yes, we could learn a lot from old, could teach a lot to the young, but the young is now at the space where they have so much to offer
Yeah.
the older generation as well. And it puts us in a good space because us in the middle,
Yeah.
sometimes we could take a step back because they just know so much more than we would have ever known at that stage. And we don't even realize how much we will come to rely on them for different growth and supports as well.
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's very interesting. It's so vital that we, maintain this and we encourage it. There are certain things that I find as younger people get older, the understanding and the relationship, the connection that we have with them, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to maintain and really understand. The younger ones, because we're in a position where we're kind of like, encouraging them and they'll listen. Once a young person gets to a certain age, their brains take on a different perception of the world and who they are.
Yeah.
So they go through that, the adolescence and so on. So with that said, how do you think we could, maintain and build relationships with the 18 to 25s? For people that may find it hard to understand and know what they're doing or, build that level of communication, what do you think is key that we as older generation people need to really focus on?
That's a good question. For me, this is my approach has always been that they just have so much knowledge and so much insight. They try to stay current, whether it be reading or learning from TikTok. Like, let's be real, TikTok is teaching people a lot of stuff these days.
Yeah.
And this age group just has so much access to information. So if we could learn to trust them and value them and realize that they have so much insight that they can bring to us.
Yeah.
And just also share their vision sometimes, not only their knowledge, but just the desire for some of their things.
Yeah.
It would allow us to have a lot more open mind to be able to realize that they can be a really great resource to us.
Yeah.
And they may even be able to teach us a lot more insightful things. So back in the day, like, we have these different things that we might learn about health. Like, if you're sick, drink bush tea, right?
Yeah.
And now a young person might say, you know what, that might not be the best approach because it has these impacts on your liver and it does this. But they could come up with these new things that they would have learned. So, like, even recently, my daughter is telling me about, don't drink Benadryl. And she's giving me all these reasons. And she's like, she found out that it has this impact and dementia and all this stuff. And it's like, she has no medical degree. I will start by saying that. But the internet, they use all the resources available to them to get access to information and to push information to help us. So I just think that the best thing we could do is just really lean on them and realize that they have so much more to offer us at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for myself, with my daughter, she's nearly 25. And what I've started to realize is, as much as I've been in a position to think, well, I know what's best. I've been through this, I've been through that. But nowadays, I'm starting to realize that it's becoming a totally different world. So the things that my foundation understanding of how to move around in the world is changing. So the things that I would have suggested to do are now different. So I'm having to stand back a little bit and be like, okay, these are what I would think I would do, and just question, like, in terms of, like, what do you think you should do?
Yeah.
Because it's coming from a point of me understanding
Yes.
and learning about the environment changes.
Yes.
I think one of the key points was when we talk about technology, when I was told that Facebook, we don't use Facebook anymore. This was quite a few years ago as well. I was like, how do you mean you don't use it? Oh, that's for old people. And I was like, what?
Yes. I was told the same.
Yeah. So then it kind of dawned on me, like, I'm actually getting older in terms of generation wise. I still feel youthful. I still feel I'm connected, but I'm assuming that's the same way our parents thought. You know, well, we're still young. We know what's good. We know, but really, you're kind of moving with your generation. You're moving with all the things that you grew and learned. You're moving that way with it. You know, it's not necessarily as relevant today as it was in their day, and we're going through the same cycle. So, yeah, really connecting with the youth for me is, you know, very important, and I think it helps me to stay young as well,
Yes.
even though I'm getting older.
Yeah, yes, for sure. I could relate to that. And like even during the pandemic, like when we're all working from home, so even if you have access, I had limited access.
Yeah.
So just by even this past year returning to work and working in person and having those interactions, I feel that 2-year gap away from them put me back a bit.
Yeah.
But now that I'm back out in the space, I feel like I'm kind of back in the game now. Like I'm starting to learn more, and I could feel the difference. Like even different things in terms of setting up for virtual settings. Like they could give you so many different ideas to make sure that you create a better experience.
Yes.
When you're interacting online. So it's like you really do get a lot of great energy off of them, and that's what I just keep saying. Keep an open mind. Like sometimes people could be very critical about that generation, but I always say, you know what? They have so much to offer.
Yeah.
So trust and believe that if we keep that open mind and that concept, we'll all be better for it.
Yeah. I think you highlighted a key point there as well. The fact that we've moved so far away from, interacting over the last 2-3 years, that, working from home was a thing and everyone got used to it. And it's like, this is convenient and so on. But it's only when we start to go back out there, we realize the things that we actually missed.
Yes.
The interactions and being present with people. Technology has enabled us to move forward a lot in many areas for the convenience, but we need to make sure we still connect with, the foundation of what humans are. And it's about being in the presence of other humans. There are things that are coming up in the future that I feel are taking us away from that. But we just need to be mindful that even though these new things come up, just be assured that you still need to maintain the real presence of relationships. And we need to encourage everybody, young, the old, the older generation probably rely on that a lot more. But also we need to encourage the young people to show them that it's very important that you keep these key points.
No, for sure. And I'm grateful of where technology has brought us to be able to do a lot of things in the virtual space. But I will honestly say that, and I'm grateful that I don't have to go into work every day. let's backpedal. I like them, but not that much to have to work in person 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I'll take my 2 or 3 days learning in person, but the benefit of being able to do much more because of the access to technology to create that space. I just want to clarify that one point, because nobody's sending me back to work 5 days a week. No chance.
Yeah. Okay. So that point really will connect with some of the things that we'll talk about later on in terms of the technology and what's enabling us to do. But before we go there, I always like to ask my guests if they can pinpoint something in their life technology-wise that, made them think, wow, things have changed. Things are really different now that this has happened. Anything from, your earliest childhood memories?
For me, the only thing that I really care about from my childhood to now, and it's going to sound kind of geeky. I wanted to come up with something cool. That's why I paused and thought. But I've always been horrible with grammar. Like, I grew up back home. I'm one of those people that write how I speak.
Yeah.
And I'm known for it. Like, I'm the person that has a million drafts because I have to write it, let it sit, go back, read it, add the punctuations, commas, all this lovely stuff. Make it nice, tight.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that AI thing likes to creep up in your systems and have these different things. So I would sometimes go into Google and put a word in if I'm unsure, just to fine tune my stuff, you know?
Yes, I know that one.
And this Grammarly thing popped up, and Grammarly changed my life.
Yeah.
I went from that person that needed to let things sit to that person who like felt that I could trust when I send something off.
Yeah.
Because I have this thing, the Grammarly plug running in the background. So when I learned about Grammarly and downloaded it, I paid for the premium account. I don't care. I'm not ashamed. It's a small investment to sound that much sharper.
Yes.
And that for me was a game changer. And I see it as a game changer for so many people and so many students who have to write papers and proofread papers. So I think of myself when I was in OAC doing my independent studies for all those people who did like grade 13 and OACs. They could relate to this where you're sitting there and you're working on this DOS computer and you have to go through, but before you hit print, you have to go through and do all your edits, but you have to manually do it. And you have to hope that you caught it all because there's a percentage of your grade that's solely going just for punctuation and grammar. It's not so much about the content. It's not so much about the analysis.
Yes.
So for someone like me, Grammarly was a game changer.
Yeah.
And I know for so many students, it's just been such a game changer in helping them to feel a lot more confident with their writing and saving so much time in their assessing and refining and revising their final output. So
Yeah.
I know it's not like this whole really cool thing, but that's it for me.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, you highlighted Grammarly as, you know, something that was, I won't say 100% life-changing, but there's elements of that even though you use that platform, I'm sure, like you said, the confidence to know that, okay, I have something supporting me, which will enable me to grow.
Exactly.
Because it wasn't just like in terms of like, I'm just going to throw it in there, it's going to spit it back out, and then I'm going to send it.
Yes.
It's going to enable you to review what the changes are.
Yes.
So from that perspective, you know, if it's, I don't know, a particular word that you're trying to spell, you'll actually look at it and most likely be like, okay, this is how to spell it. Even if you do it a couple of times, after a while, if you're actually focusing on it, you will then know how to spell that word.
That's right.
So you're learning as you're going along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it always wants me to stop using the word great and use fantastic. Do I look like somebody that use the word fantastic? Not really. So that's fantastic. No, that's great.
Yeah.
So there are times where I have to say like slow your roll. Like this is still my tone and my voice. So you still have a big role to play in it, but I appreciate sometimes it does pump out some good ideas and where I'm like, oh, you really make me sound good there. And it will say, be more confident. Say this. And I'm like, okay. But it's not that type of email. So just relax. I'm trying to be soft here.
Yeah.
So but I like the fact that it's given me that comfort. So yeah.
So do you think that feedback that it's giving you is based on the data that it has already? Because we could think to ourselves, we connect to this word a particular way and we use it. But in the context of that statement or that paragraph or whatnot, to another reader who they have data of and how they interact and would receive that word, do you think that it was tuning in for that and we need to tune in with that? Or do you feel like, no, it should make sure that you maintain who you are?
I personally feel that it is trying to connect me better with the audience, but if the audience already knows me, they'll know Sherry don't sound like that. Sherry don't say these words. So let's not get too crazy with the support that Grammarly's given me.
Yeah.
I'll take like, I would say 95% of it. I want to sound correct,
Yes.
but I don't want to sound like it.
Yeah.
I still want to keep me. And there's times in which I'll even leave an error or two because that's how I say
A little
it.
bit of swag in
Yes,
there.
you can't take me out of the email. Can't take me out of the paper. So I try and be intentional sometimes. But just don't make no like the commas and the periods and your salutations. Just make sure those are right.
Yeah.
And the rest of the words, the word part, shorten my sentence here and there, but keep me in there. So that's how I've been trying to manage it overall.
Cool. Well, following on from that, you're talking about Grammarly, which enables you to, tighten up your what you're writing in terms of your grammar. Obviously, it's called Grammarly. But now we're in this new phase of ChatGPT, and every week, I talk about ChatGPT. But also, really feel like I need to, speak to my guest and get their views on how potentially that could be helping them if they are using it. But also, there's another element of the more we rely on some of these platforms to enable us to write new things, or when we ask it questions and ask it to provide us information that we then use, are we at a position where humanity is starting to add less to the world because it's relying on data that already exists? It's a deep question, I know, but...
Did you say it's a deep question? Yes, it was. In terms of... I'll start first with my usage of ChatGPT. I've used it more so, I would say, in the last month or two, just to kind of test it out because there's just so much talk, the whole conversation. It's hard to be in an education space and not have ChatGPT be a part of the conversation.
Yes.
And for me, I kind of sat in a corner while they're talking because I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So the best way to learn for me is not by reading, but by doing.
Yeah.
And I downloaded, set up my account, and I thought for me it was more appropriate to use it in the space based on my work and how I may encounter having to discuss it as it relates to students. So for me, I work in career education. So therefore I wanted to know, hey, please write me a cover letter for a UXD designer and ensure that it's targeted to the education space. So I could see what is it capable of. And I was blown away.
Yeah.
The first time I put that request in and I was like, that's not good because if 5 students do it, they're going to end up with all the same cover letters and they're going to look like a fraud.
Yeah.
So guess what? I asked them to do another one and another one and another one. And it gave me 5 different cover letters. And I was like, this makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was like, this thing is writing cover letters better than I could ever sound. But when I took a step back and I really dived into it, it's missing the personal element of the cover letter. It could give you a very generic, nice sounding thing. But when you peel back the surface, if the individual doesn't add like themselves into it, then it would just sound like a really great sales pitch on an About Us website that says, this is a little bit about us, but it's generic. I always say if I could take content and add anybody's name to it, then what good is it? But if I could read content and I could say, I feel like I've just learned a lot about a person, then that's add value. So for me, that was kind of my approach over the last 2 months or so, is trying to think of different things. So I was like, okay, I've thought of it from the student's lens, but let me think of it from my own lens. Like, how can it help me? And I was designing a program that has like 5 different modules to it. So I instructed it, okay, so to help me write a program description for, skills assessment. And boom. By the way, I had mine written first. So I had my little description sitting there. I did it with that. And when it did, it was way better. It was so much stronger. But when I actually looked at my actual program and I think of the actual learning for the student, that's where the issue became, because what it was saying was amazing. And I wish I had the capacity to teach them that.
Yeah.
But I don't. The program, we would not be able to hit those learning outcomes that its description offered. So I had to be realistic and take a look at it and say, yes, it was a great descriptor, but it would be false advertisement if I was supposed to use it as is. So I was just like, I will take some of these words though. I'm not gonna lie. I took some of those words and I was like, I'll keep these because we have the capacity to be able to do these. But so it's not foolproof. It can't extract and remove the human element to the process, because without my good eyes, that thing could have set us all up for something really, 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 really bad. It would make us an imposter. And that's kind of what AI is to me. It's kind of like an imposter. Sorry, because it's you, but it's not you.
Yes.
So that's where I landed. I landed that without us humans controlling it, and I know where you're gonna go. I could predict you. I know you're gonna tell me that soon it will have the ability to do it, but I'm gonna say from where we are right now, I feel that I still have a big role within it to be able to make sure that it's relevant and relatable to the actual task that I'm doing, and it cannot replace me. Did I say it cannot replace me? Oh no, he came after me.
So now you're saying that, it kind of really highlights to me that there is now creating a new level of, I guess, education from that perspective, that, okay, you could use this tool to output some information that kind of sounds like you and could probably pass for you. But then when it comes to interview phase, when it comes to the person to person, and they start interacting with you and your vocabulary or the things that you talk about don't relate to this, that will become the issue. I do feel that off the back of that, there are things that we could be doing to add value. So we could use these platforms, but also use those platforms to enable us to develop areas that were, probably weren't so important at one point because we had to focus on getting these elements done. Now these elements can be done easier and quicker. Now we can focus on the things that we didn't feel we had time for and start to bring them up. What's your thoughts on that? Is there anything that's popped up to you to...
I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel, and it goes back to what I was saying about, my little brother and his ability to teach. He didn't learn it from the schools. He didn't learn it from my parents. He definitely didn't learn it from me. But he learned it from all of these different platforms that are feeding him information based on things he's searched. His previous searches are coming up and it's provided more and more information and insight on the same topics. Like all of us know our phones are listening to us. And all of us know that anytime we search certain things, we get more ads, or we look at things on YouTube. It's more of those same topics keep coming up. It will give you other things relevant. And likewise, where the person who might in the past be able to have to think of spending a lot of time on the resume and the cover letter, and then they'll then have to spend a lot of time on doing the research, and then they have to spend a lot of time on doing the mock interviews.
Yes.
Now, because they've reduced the amount of time in the application process, maybe in terms of the resume and cover letter, now they now have relevant information that they've now had to personalize, but they still have to analyze it. They still have to think through it. They still have to do the job posting analysis to make sure that the content is relevant to the employer or to the task or the assignment, and fine tune it. So it's definitely saving time, but it's also pointing them in the right direction. It's also going to guide them and give them more relevant resources and sources to go to, to be able to be that much better. So like I see it, like, as much as I say, if you go with it as is, yes, you could come across as an imposter, but by using it, you could get that much more access and that much more insight and that much more relevant information to what you needed to help you be more prepared with anything we do. I always say we start at zero, and then the preparation we put in is what's going to make us move up in terms of giving us the relevant information that we would need to do that much better. So if we have a tool that has that ability to support us, then why not?
Definitely.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah. On top of that, I think, the whole recruitment process as well is something that could probably, change a little bit, because even if the recruiter is spending a lot of time in, just reading resumes and, trying to find out more about that person from online, for example, there could be new tools that we use to find out about, the person, how they would fit in with another person in a particular environment. Do they have the skill set? Because there are people that are very good at being who they need to be on paper and can learn to give all the cues in an interview. But in the real world, they're okay.
Yeah.
But then we have other people that find it hard to do those other things, but will be great in that environment. But they don't get the opportunity because they fail at the interview stage, or they fail at the resume part. So I think, it's a perfect opportunity for businesses out there to start looking at different ways of how to bring in new talent rather than these old school ways.
I know.
I
think they're trying, because I know there are some companies that, they may decide, okay, we're not going to screen only with the resume. They might add another layer for like a video submission with it. So it gets them to see and learn a little bit more about the person. There are some that might do case competitions and different case style approaches so that they could see people. Or another popular one that is used is sometimes an interview carousel, so more of a group interview style. So they may still have to use the resume for the first layer of screening. And then they take you to the next layer, and then they do that group assessment. But the benefit of that is that they will be able to have access to screen more people. So therefore, more people may make it through that first layer of the resume and cover letter screening. Because they may have put more emphasis on the true screener to be the interview carousel. So for me, I don't mind the resume cover letter screening because it keeps me employed. You know? So, but I do think that companies are realizing that they need to do more than sit behind the desk and do their screening, because to be honest with you, even HR systems do screenings through AI as well, where they're looking for different tags in your resume, and if your resume and cover letter doesn't hit those keywords, then it screens you out, right? And it is a lot. Like as someone myself who's had to do resume screening, when you have you get a position, it goes out, it gets 80 something or over 100 plus applications, that converts into more than like 300-400 pages when it pops out the application packages that you have to review. So if you think about screening that many applicants, it's kind of hard on the human eye. So of course they're going to use technology to kind of screen and bring it down.
Yeah.
So that's why it really is important as well to take the time and make sure that you are looking at the position that you're applying to, customizing it, targeting it. And more systems are now helping you to do that match between yourself and the job. You even LinkedIn, they'll say, take a look at your profile, and they'll, based on your LinkedIn profile, we've identified these jobs that's relevant. So technology is supporting the whole process from beginning to end. In terms of the screening aspect and trying to think of it from the fit perspective, I think they will need to continue having that human element, unless they plan on doing something like personality assessments to help fine-tune what types of candidates they want. And I think that's going to be another conversation.
Yeah, because I think on that point, even if that is being assessed by a human, there's potentially bias is still sitting in there. So, it's good, but it depends on who's actually monitoring, who is setting the criteria, who is, their personal feeling. They might see someone, for instance, that look like, I don't know, reminds them of their mother, for example. There might be just, an extra 2 points go there unconsciously.
Yeah, or consciously.
Or consciously. Yeah. But if we can, I guess we'll start to bring AI and things like that into it, which will hopefully edit out that bias. But at the same time, like I've spoken about before, AI is learning about our biases, because if it's an AI for North America compared to an AI for, I don't know, Russia, for example, it's going to have a different view of who Russia is compared to the US. So it can, can be very granular at many different levels on that.
Yeah, and funny you say that, because it's a human that's setting the tags for screening, right? So I'll give an example. So I'm trying to think. So by nature, we know that, okay, yes, some degree programs, for example, may be able to have the core skills necessarily to do a particular task. But we know that we are not our degrees, right? We learn outside of our degrees. But if the first layer of screening is, for example, the education requirement, and you've been screened out because you're not pursuing a bachelor's in computer science, but you are the type of individual that have spent a lot of time independently learning coding, and you've done a lot. You maybe have been doing programming way before you even started your degree. And there's many, many, many young people who've been, independently learning so much information. It could have, that first screening could have screened that pool of applicants out. So we do have, and I think that's one of the great things, is that more companies are now pretty committed to ensuring that they're not creating any barriers and putting systems in place to make sure that they're improving access. And they're relooking at a lot of these processes that they have in place to ensure that there's more awareness. So I don't want to say that, and I'm getting the I know bias will always live on, and we'll never be able to fully remove it.
No.
But I think the most we could ask is for people to be a little bit more aware, and companies and corporations to have that level of awareness, so that they could change and fix broken processes to make it that much better.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Hopefully, if they're listening out there and they can take this on board and do something with it, But yeah, it's good to hear that they're actually moving away from it, and the companies and businesses and so on that aren't following that, I think they'll really get left behind. So I think a lot of that is more in tune with the current generation and actually looking at it from their perspective rather than, they could be in their 60s and think this is the way we should be doing business and employing people.
Is that how 60-year-olds talk?
Well, I'm hoping. But yeah, that authoritative with age kind of thing that comes along with it. They just need to be open to the new things. And like I was saying earlier on, we need to be open to the younger generation for ourselves as well. Okay, so jumping onto other areas as I like to do, always, trying to dig deeper into that person and try and get me some information that I could probably use or, the audience could use. But do you think you're ready for this new world of AI? Do you think the young generation are ready for it? And if not, what do you think you need to be doing to prepare yourself?
For me, I embrace it, right? I am always excited about anything that has to do with innovation and improving and making the world a better place, or maybe not so much a better place. Some areas, I acknowledge some people would say that, but for me, I think that if it's allowing us to do be more efficient, if it's allowing us to do things better, then by all means, there are times when I look at it, like I was at Walmart the other day, and the little sweeper mopper thing?
Yes, I saw it myself as well.
And I saw it and I was like, hold up. Is this thing cleaning the place without anyone?
Yeah, for just for the audience, now in Walmart, they have these automated floor cleaners, and they're like robots. Usually you'd see those machines with people pushing them, but now they're fully automated, and they actually have like eyes and a mouth to make you feel comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was pushing away cleaning, and I had a moment of, I was so excited. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that just made somebody unemployed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but it made a lot of people employed who made it. Mm-hmm. So I had to see, I was like, I kind of toyed back and forth, but I was like, probably the person who really needs a job to take care of their family may not have the access and means to have that education to be able to get that job that created that.
Yes.
So I had a lot of mixed feelings about my excitement, but also realizing the social impacts and what it would have meant to certain families that more than likely got their jobs replaced by this new shiny new piece of technology that was there.
Smiling at you.
Smiling at me. Just going around the store. But it did make me pause and think about it for a bit. Or even when you go to Shoppers and like you realize that pretty much they have one teller that's at the electronic machine now, and they've all been replaced by the little automated checkout points.
Yeah.
And it's taken over.
Yeah.
There's no way that we could not acknowledge that. Okay, yes, technology is amazing as much as I appreciate and embrace it, and I think it's going to help us to move a way forward. It is making Walmart be cleaner and more efficient, more than likely. But it is going to have a social and human impact. So that's the part that I feel a little bit sad about, to be honest with you.
Technological unemployment, I think it's called. With that said, what do you think these companies could potentially do? Because I think, even though they could be replacing people with robots, there are things that I think that they could be doing. But what do you think they could be doing?
I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, but if I was supposed to think about it, from the perspective of like my own organization or how I would want them to treat me, is I would hope that they do a full analysis and they realize that, one, that you cannot replace people, that you still have a social commitment to those around you. And even the task, that machine may be able to do one task, but it can't do the multiple tasks that an individual was thinking. So I would want them to do a lot of deep analysis to see, not remove the value of humans, but in terms of the fact that its impact will have an impact on the employment. I'll hope that they would think of the communities that they serve and maybe think of different, programs that they could run to continue supporting and giving back into the communities.
Yeah.
And that hopefully would reach some of the people that would have had access to those opportunities within their companies. So whether it be having higher community programs and donations, whether it be to soccer programs or after school programs, those are different programs that will still reach those families and allow them to have affordable services as well, and maybe even investing in training programs and education programs and scholarship programs to ensure that if you're going to replace people with machinery, that you are providing access to funding for them to get the education that they need to be able to access these opportunities as well. So that's the role I would think they play. You want technology? Pay for the upgrades and the learnings and the foundational needs that these individuals will need to access it.
I fully agree with you on that one. I think that's what I was going to also put forward as well, is the fact that if they're saving, you're saving this money by bringing in this technology, because all it is really about is saving money to give back to the shareholders at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Is the big thing. But there is still the opportunity for them to upscale people. So you got one person on this level, you could bring this person up, and then everyone can climb the ladder with that support. So I think that would be a good approach that these companies could take. But I also feel there's a lot of this that sits on the shoulders of governments as well, for them to enforce certain practices. If you're going to do this is your social responsibility. Just like they can push it for climate change and all those kind of things and force people to follow these strict rules. I think they could do that for companies that you want to set up in a particular province or city or whatnot. This is what you need to bring into the environment, because a lot of companies have a social responsibility as it is. If you're building something in a particular area, you need to be providing to the area in terms of investments. They could do that through the people and just educate them and just bring them up the ranks, rather than saying, oh, we need to lay you off. Switch it. We need to raise you up. As an approach to making sure that they're keeping people,
I don't know. Like, I feel that we're fortunate. That's one of the things that I hate speaking global things because I could only speak to Canada. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Canada. They do invest in a lot of different programs to ensure that they're creating a level of access and removing barriers so that people who have need to grow would be able to afford these different opportunities. I feel that from my perspective, There's others that would be like, no, like teachers are underpaid and this group is this and that group's on strike. And I fully acknowledge that. But the point is that we have the privilege that we can strike.
Yeah.
And we can speak up and we can advocate for ourselves. So I appreciate, and there's no government structure in a country as big as Canada that will ever be perfect. But as long as we continue thriving to all these different areas. And I'm not a political person, so I'm not even going into that politicking side of it.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about what agencies are trying to do, and I hope that they'll continue working on doing it better. As someone who works in the education space where the focus has always been on, trying to identify how can we make things more accessible? How can we make sure we create a space of belonging and that we don't develop so much around us that we push others within our communities out because they can't afford to live there? I think you're right to bring that topic up, and I'm glad you're bringing the topic up that corporates have a social responsibility to the communities that are around them. I have two sides of it. I live in Oshawa and I pay high taxes, and I think I'm not no tax specialist, but I think I pay high taxes is because we have a lot of businesses. I mean, a lot of residents and not enough businesses to help offset and bring that property tax number down. I don't know how much the municipal government is being thoughtful when they bring a company in to say, hey, before I let you in, I want to make sure you have a social responsibility. I think they're like, just come bring yourself set up, give jobs, because there's two sides to it. When they come in, they bring jobs. That I think plays a big role in how they might think of it. So it's kind of like a catch-22 when you're in the position of the government. And I don't know. I don't work in that space, but I'm just trying to think of how I think about where I live. And where I live, I want to see big companies. I work in Mississauga. I commute across the GTA. And when I'm commuting across, I'm always so marveled at how different areas are developed. But Mississauga, Hazel got it right. That woman built up Mississauga, so it's such a monster. And there's so much job opportunities. And naturally, by all of these companies coming there and paying property tax, it's going to give the municipal area so much more money to invest back into the community. So in terms of whether they try and get companies to do better, this is not going to sound good. Hit them with tax. I didn't say hit them with tax because it's going to trickle down to my pay. But as long as they come up with a system that ensures that if they know companies are moving to technology for jobs, then I just want them to work harder to incentivize companies to come into those areas to make it that much richer. So that's... I'm going to put a little bit as I'm like, the government's good, but bring more jobs. So that's my position.
I think it's key that they push for that, because if we think about the people that are getting older and become, the retirement state, like there's a lot of, talk about, do governments have enough to pay for, retirements of all these people? Have they invested enough in the past to make sure there's enough for them when they get to that age? If they're seeing a deficit at the minute, there's perfect opportunity to make sure they can make it up somehow, some way. Because even if it's, giving people jobs that are paying back into the system rather than people becoming unemployed and having to take from the system. So I think it's imperative that they really sit down and take the time to really figure it out, how they're going to move forward with it, and, make it a must for, a company moving to a different part of the country or whatnot, that they, that part of their plan is not just for them to move into the community and make money from it, but actually to give money that, lasts generational wealth in a sense.
Yeah. And I think that is going to be something that a lot more thought needs to be put into. And I can't really speak to it from that side of it because I'm just a little career educator over here, just trying to make sure more jobs come for students. But I do see the value in it, and I hope they are keeping a pulse on it. I would say over the last few years, the government has definitely invested more into trying to ensure that there's experiential learning opportunities to help prepare students for employment opportunities. But in terms of the group that you're speaking about, especially the older group, I don't know currently what's there to help them be prepared for those opportunities. I know a few years ago, I've been in this employer for 16 years, but prior to that, I did work with under 45 and the under 55 category. And there was a lot of different bridging programs that would allow them to get retraining to be able to upgrade their qualifications and be more prepared if they did face a layoff or any type of unemployment. Or like the perfect example was, oh my gosh, let me do math. I'm going to say around 2006-ish. Like, I don't know if people remember when Bell had this huge layoff. So Bell Canada had this huge layoff a few years ago. And there was just so many people in their mid 40s and 50s that were unemployed. They didn't have a lot of the technical skills. They were with that one employer for many years. And I was excited at the time. I was working already in the employment space, but there was just so much funding that the government responded with to ensure that there was support for retraining and to help them be able to better market themselves and providing employers with credits to ensure that they had access to job opportunities. So I hope that as we go into this chapter of the technological unemployment, that they may have to, maybe they're already doing it. I haven't dug deep enough into it. But they make that shift to think of what are they going to do to help people in this, who are going to be impacted by this as well. So that's something. I think I'm going to go look that up right after this.
Okay. That might be really interesting in terms of repositioning in certain areas, especially for me. I'm in a position where I'm thinking about loads of different ideas of how we can maneuver in this new age. And I think it's good for me to start, working with other people and, bring my own ideas to different environments. So if anybody out there needs some advice, come and see me. I plug that every week. But it's just, I just hope that they're really thinking about it and have a plan of action, because, things can go left, as they say, really quickly, especially with the development of AI and, it's coming along and sweeping away, I won't say a lot of jobs right now, but people need to be aware of how it potentially could impact their jobs. And not necessarily you have to think about, how am I going to fix this within this job, but think about other things that you're good at, other areas that you could potentially move into, and just start researching and, using the AI tools that are out there that you may need to use in future jobs,
Yes. Can I disagree with you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is it. I think regardless to AI and regardless to what's happening around us, we should always be doing skill assessment. We should always be assessing our passion. We should always be thinking of, is there something that I could pivot into that's going to bring me more joy? Give me a shorter commute from Mississauga. Not saying I'm exploring options, but I think we should always be doing a regular check on ourselves. And the only reason I said like I wanted to disagree with you a bit is that I feel that career anxiety is a real thing, right? And there's so many of us without technology in our head that has fears of unemployment or job loss, and or even if we don't have full fare, we know somebody who's been impacted by job loss. So the only reason I would say we shouldn't think of it from an AI perspective is that we have so many things to be anxious and stressed about already in life. We should be thinking of our employment from the perspective of job growth and having a growth mindset to begin with. We should always be thinking about opportunities. We should always be thinking about, is there something that I could potentially be pursuing that's going to bring me more joy, bring me more happiness, that I feel that would be more fulfilling. And if we get into the habit of looking at it from that perspective, then it will hopefully take care of our wellness. It will take care of that level of anxiety that the news and the AI and all of that is going to feed into us. And hopefully, and it's kind of like what I said earlier, where I said I spent the last 2 months trying to think about what it's doing. And I'm really good in talking to myself to saying I'm good, right? I'm like, you helped me, but without me, this final outcome could not be. And I think I'm going to say that we need to talk to ourselves, encourage ourselves, research, stay current, watch this podcast. Hey, shameless plug. Okay. But I feel like if we do these things, it's going to make us be more ready and make us, if we do encounter, because none of us are protected from this, with or without AI. People have been experiencing layoffs. But what I would say is that if we do experience it, it wouldn't be the first time that we've done a self-check. So I'm going to say, let's not self-check based on AI, but let's self-check because it's good for us. It's a good habit for us to have for our own career wellness. So,
I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel some people need to like have a bit of pressure. Like it's coming. Sorry, I didn't scare anybody out there.
Well, you did.
But I feel, sometimes people need that extra nudge. Like people could be, advised of, this is the right thing to do. And even in themselves, they might think, yeah, it's the right thing to do. I'll get around to it. But if you know it's coming,
You don't mean to scare people and you're doing that?
It's coming.
It's coming? Like Pac-Man.
So I think there's you gotta have a balance. You gotta have a balance of the two. I think, the inspiring people to make sure that they, staying focused and, exploring who they are and being better in that. But also, there's a fear that if you don't do this, then your employment or the things that you like to do in life and enjoy in life, those things are not necessarily going to be what you are going to be able to do. So having the fear of losing that should put you on a train to get in that. But I don't know. I guess you can look at it from two ways.
I'm going to say you guys should see my wings and my rainbows. Okay? Like,
what's over here?
His horns.
And the staff.
But I do see your point. You're like that parent that's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna send them out with the full first aid kit.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be here's your ball. Have fun. Okay. Yeah. And it's not that I want to be flowery. And I know what you mean, that if you're not staying aware, that you're gonna just be like a Mack truck's gonna hit you, and then that's when you get the reality check. But I just think I have this theory that I go with all the time. Just be your own yardstick, be of your own measure. So I always say I don't look left, I don't look right. I look
Yeah.
at me, and I just try and stay focusing on me and trying. Yes, always be aware of the surroundings. Always think of, is there things that I can do to be better? But I feel that, like, as much as you say it's coming and I should keep watching it,
Yeah.
I feel like if I think of it as it's coming and I have to keep watching it, that would freak me out.
Paralyze you,
It will paralyze me.
Yeah.
And I've just seen so many people be paralyzed to make like career choices because they're like, I can't touch that sector because that sector is volatile, and
Yeah.
I can't touch that because of this. And like right now, tech was everything. Everybody wanted into tech.
Yeah.
Then right now, everyone's like, tech's getting kind of hard. Let's just jump out of tech.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of educating and watching this. I did another plug. Okay. But just, I would say, just learn for learning and learn because you need that information to be better in what you're doing currently.
Yeah.
But it should be about how it's going to feed you to do better where you are. Don't learn it to feed you because of what it may do to you.
Okay.
I gave him one to,
Yeah. I'll have to listen back to this later on and kind of actually take that and really dissect it and then use it. I like it though.
Okay.
I just need to relate it to who I am.
Okay.
a bit more.
No.
Just maybe just a little. So this leads me onto one of the questions I always have to ask, and is, what scares you about the future of technology?
The only thing that scares me about the future of technology, no lie, is my money.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that money business. And like we were having a conversation earlier about the fact that this voice recognition stuff,
Yeah.
and bots being able to access.
Yep.
I'm that person who never carries cash. All my money is in the bank. I tap
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
So my biggest fear is that if we're relying so much on technology to do our banking, to house our money, house our investments, I'm not even a person like my mom. Sorry, Mom. I'm going to chat your business right now. She's that person with that, those old school black notebooks that you get from the dollar store where she'll write down bills and write down stuff.
Yeah.
Like she could tell you when she paid stuff, how much she paid, how much she owed.
Yeah.
She has everything written. I have nothing written down. If you ask me what my salary is right now, only the bank knows. I don't know that. I don't go in and be up in my business. There's money in the account, take my bills. Everything is pre-authorized. So I just think that that's a problem. That's something that I know that I've put a little bit too much reliance and trust on technology. The bank could do a clean sweep on me and I wouldn't even know. And I think I could be all hairy-fairy with careers, but financial wellness and my retirement plan and my pension, these are things that I think that it's just everything is auto deposit and auto available and sign in and look.
Yeah.
I'm that person that said, oh no, I don't want print statements. I want my damn print statement now. Okay, send me my print statement.
Yeah.
So let me be able to have it, because guess what? They're housing all of the statements. So they then have access to change all of the statements. I know I'm sounding a little bit paranoid, but I told you me and my money is serious.
And also related to that, once you say you don't want printed statements and you need a printed statement, you have to pay them.
Say what now?
Yeah. When you go in and you want a printed statement, you have to pay them. So just a word. Just the words out there.
Well, I'm about to get serious, and it's funny because it was just the other day. Like went in and I was pulling up my pension statements, and on the pension statement it gives you that forecast.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I love that forecast line. Like, how much is my pension going to be in a few years? And it has this, like, a platform that you could put in your information and it will spit out. And conveniently, that thing never working for me. And I was just like, is it a user problem? That would mean it would be an issue with me. And I was like, Okay. So I need to get a human to sit with me. I don't want a system to sit with me and tell me my forecasted amount. I want it printed, or I want a human who is trained with the skills, with the ability to provide me with an accurate forecast.
Yeah.
You're smiling. You know I'm serious about my money. You're like, she went from sugar to horns. So, but that's my only real big fear with AI, because and what's that, Kai? Usain Bolt? You know, there was that little money scandal.
Yes.
Like, that made all of my antennas grow up, because I'm like, most of us do not have paper trail of our money.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, in his case, millions is like our hundreds. So for him, I could only pray and hope that he had a paper trail of that money so that he's able to recoup or gain access. But do you see how easy it was for them to thief off the man's money? And that's the truth and the reality of it all.
What we need to be aware of as well is, you know, statements. We could look at statements and see, like, because a lot of times we go somewhere, we pay for something, we just beep.
Yes.
I'll check how much it was. Oh, it's about $18. Yeah, okay. It could have been $17.
Yeah.
But an extra dollar, you just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's I've heard of in the past there've been people that have created the ability to skim like pennies off people's accounts. Yeah. If you got 100 million people to skim off, and banks could be doing that with the little bits of added things that you're paying for, services that you don't necessarily need, but you're kind of like, it's only $5.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only $60 for the year. You're kind of like, well, $60 for the year for 1 million people is a whole load of money that we were just giving away.
But that's the problem with using technology to automate everything as well. And we've allowed technology, as great as it is and convenient as it is, to automate our finances. And I know it's made me sloppy. Like, I don't want to tell everybody my business, but if it's there to help you, I have these gym memberships.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing, Leroy? You don't believe I have a gym membership?
No, I didn't say that. It's nothing at the thought.
I'm just joking. We roast each other about my commitment
always.
to the gym. But the reason why I thought it would be a good one to bring up, because it's so natural that you have anything that you're financially committed to. Majority of us don't go in and do individual payments. It's all automated, kind of like what you were saying about TAP. And throughout the pandemic, when the gyms shut down, they stopped all of the direct deposits because they were closed. They reopened and then they started a payment again. But this, as I said, I'm not all up in my business looking at statements and online. So they restarted taking out my money. Yeah. And it's been going on for over a year now. The other day I see this transaction. I have not entered this gym since before the pandemic.
Yes.
Only for me to see this series of charges that have been occurring over the time.
Yeah.
And I think that continues to be my only fear. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of, how do I want to manage my finances and technology? So as much as technology has advanced and we are able to do so much more with it from
Yeah.
the financial standpoint, I do want to take a step back and identify what is the best way to
Yeah.
manage in my money. My husband, he has this jar, those cashew nuts jars, the plastic ones.
Yeah.
So once it's finished, he took one and he has it in the room and he puts all his change in it, any cash, he puts it in there. Now, we would want to believe it's safer, but it's not safe from me. but but it is a safer approach, but because at the end of the day, if anything happens, there was a few years ago when we had that power outage and no one had access to cash or anything.
Yes.
A system like that came in really handy. But I remember people couldn't buy gas, they couldn't buy nothing because all the power is out. So you couldn't purchase or get access to your money. So these are sometimes little reminders that we need that we can't go totally in one way either. So
Yeah. So it's really looking at areas where, like you say, to have access to your finances, but also, monitoring your finances. A couple of key things I would suggest is, especially when we sign up to services, that we think, it's a trial period. Oh yeah, you can have this for a month or 2 months. And then you're kind of like, okay, I'll sign up to it. Two things. One, put it a week before the cancellation date that you need to put it in your calendar, and set a reminder for every day that it reminds you until you've cancelled it, and then you remove it. Second thing is, a lot of times you can sign up and then cancel, and it will say, okay, you've got until such and such to use your membership.
I don't have a pen. You want to write that one down for me,
I'll
please?
give you them later.
Remember it because I need to set up those reminders.
But that's what I always do.
Yeah, I don't.
And it comes up as a red notification in my calendar, and it continues nonstop until I've done it, and then I remove it from the calendar. Yeah.
No, I'm on that one because that, as I said, that I'm not good with. So I'm going to set those reminders up.
Yeah.
Good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Cash, like you said, have some access to cash somewhere, and then also invest in maybe some gold. I know this is probably a bit deep for before Skynet, but maybe I'll touch on this another time. But gold.
You want me to invest in gold?
Start looking into it. Seriously.
Maybe 2024.
You can start looking into it.
You want me to look into AI and gold all at the same time?
I'll send you a video link, and I'll share the video link at the bottom of this on the YouTube page as well. So, yeah.
I'm always open to learning.
Cool.
So I won't wait till 2024 if you send me the link. If you
Good
don't send me the link, I'll put it on my to-do
definitely
list.
send you the link.
Okay, then. Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Like
And if
a
I
good
don't,
plan.
the audience could tell me off.
Okay, I'll post it in the comments. Still waiting on the gold link.
Yeah, not the actual physical gold link, but the link. But I ain't giving none of my gold away for free.
Good point. Good point.
Okay, so I'm hitting you with all the important and strong questions and trying to, draw more out of you information-wise. So I came up with this question in my head, and I thought it was extremely important to, as we're looking at the future of where we're going with technology. And the question is, will AI balance all inequalities? Because if we think about all these robots are going to be able to do all these things that in the past we've had to work, or we've had to have the skill set to bring this to this, and, people that have money could invest and, get resources from here and whatnot. But if we get to the point where we don't have to actually physically do these things, and another entity such as a robot and AI does it for us, do you think that will help us as a society, a global society, to, get closer to equality for everybody?
My immediate answer is going to be no.
Okay.
It's actually a hell no, actually. Like, how is that going to make us equal? It's going to, like, number one, it's only going to be the rich that could afford this technology. Only the rich can have access to it. Oh, hold on. Let me pause.
Okay.
Is the government giving us all this little robot that's going to take good care of us?
Well, I guess it all depends on how much the government are investing. And that's why we talked about investing into the people earlier on, and these companies, being required to give back to the government. So I guess that works hand in hand.
So, or is it like Google that everybody has access to it? Is the robot like that?
It could be, because the reason why I say that is because if we get to the point of when we watch that clip about WALL-E, any of you out there watched that WALL-E, I think it's a Pixar, Disney maybe, movie, and everybody is sat in these chairs looking at a screen, being provided with all the drinks and all the food and everything that they need, but they're not actually productive members of society. If we ever get to that point where we don't have to physically get up and do something or mentally add to society, everybody should be equal then, right? And if not, why not?
I think with as much as we might have a tool like AI to help and support us, when did you see those people on WALL-E? We're never gonna be like that. Like our brains, it's gonna be very hard. Like the human brain is trained already to continue to grow and improve and build upon itself. That's just how I see it. And I think, well, the pandemic showed us that we could learn new habits very easily. Yeah. So we can be adaptive if we are given certain tools and things. But I think that we're just naturally greedy capitalists.
Yeah.
There ain't no way.
That's what I was thinking.
There is no way. It don't matter. I think it would improve the baseline maybe. But I think greed and the obsession and hunger for power and control would make us continue to want more. And it doesn't matter if we've been, it's like, there's, it's a book called Utopia, where it's like where you're given a perfect world. And even if you're given a perfect world and a perfect society, there's still going to be people who want it to be better. They have a better version of better. So yes, like in WALL-E, they're sitting back there and they have that. But then someone's like, make me fly. Make my clothes nicer than theirs. They'll never be satisfied with everybody having access and us all being equal. So they will our natural mind and our natural instinct. It's kind of like animals, right? Where there's a hierarchy. We are just natural people that push for that direction. So I do not believe that we have the ability to ever allow equity to exist around us. Sorry to say. So much for my rainbow and my halo.
No, I hear it. I hear 100% where you're coming from on that one. I do think that the more, how can I put it? The way we've grown over, centuries as human beings, it's a condition, and when you really look at it, it's kind of a sickness. Really, we could have so much of this, but I want another pair of sneakers. Oh, I want extra this. I want this. I want that.
Yeah,
and it's a condition where we could cure ourselves of it as humanity, or potentially AI could cure us. It could set boundaries that we don't have an option. And if they're learning from us and they were seeing, if they see us as we have a sickness, like with anything, they're going to get to a point where they're trying to heal people. If they see we have a mental sickness or illness, which is consumerism, They might want to fix us.
They will not. They're too greedy. The people that are the true greedy people are the people
Yeah.
who are designing this. So there is nobody who has the brain power and capacity.
Yeah, so here we're talking about people, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how people want certain things. But remember, we're moving to a point with this singularity where the AI will think for itself and will do for itself and will look at us and be like, that's not fair. Why shouldn't this be fair for everybody? And then they're in a position to say, let's cut this, let's cut that, let's add this, let's add that, and balance it out. And then they're going to be at that point where they are uncontrollable from that sense. Even though, you know, we're the master creators and currently the puppeteers, but soon Pinocchio's going to be able to walk by himself. Sorry to scare you guys out there, but
He went back with his. He's back there. I thought I brought him down. And then he went right back. Okay, I'm still gonna say I'm gonna say no.
No?
I don't feel that even if technology, even if we build the system.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the system might have the capacity to control itself.
Mm-hmm.
Even the system controlling itself are going to be in competition with each other.
Right. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So even when they are competing with each other, it's kind of like Batman and whoever he doesn't like. I don't.
Oh, the Joker, maybe.
The Joker. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I see. You could tell I'm like really into that stuff. I feel like even if they all have a superpower, like most superheroes don't all work together to create this harmonious space for us all. There's always some kind of war or something happening and some struggles that's always exist. So I would love that. If I would love to be wrong, but I just and maybe just having lived and having seen and looking at history, like I feel like we've already have access to enough knowledge and education where there's so many things that we should already know better with. Like I don't feel that we need a chip in our body or we need more information to learn to do better. We've already gotten to the point where there's so many things that should not be, but is.
Yes.
So I just don't believe that. And listen, if I could live long enough and be blessed to witness where equity is around me and everybody is on the same platform, then that would be a beautiful thing to witness and shoot, move it up. But I just don't believe it's coming.
Okay. We will see. The future is yet to come. But my last note before I leave, on the back of that, AI versus AI. Okay, guys. Because we've spoken about like how we would like it to work and how they're going to think differently, like humans are going to. But hopefully the AI of the future will be nice to us and will want to treat us the right way if we have money or if we don't have money.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Let's put that out into the waves, you know? Into the 5G antennas out there that are listening.
I'm catching it.
Cool. All right. Thank you ever so much for coming and spending some time with me, Sherry. It's been very, very interesting and great and fun.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So is there anything you want to share with the audience before we sign off today?
Well, first, I'm going to focus on my banking. Second, I'm going to spend a little bit more time getting familiar with AI. I'll continue trying to use it to be better. I'll continue bugging Leroy.
Hey.
I'll continue making sure that I stay up to date. I also have to follow up with you because I do need some updates tech-wise in the house.
Yeah.
My house has a desire to be a little bit smarter.
Okay.
So since I'm in front of you, I'm putting a shameless plug to remind him that we're going to have that conversation.
I got her on tape as well. So,
No, I got you on tape. You're giving me advice. So I would say it's been a pleasure. It's really been thought-provoking to have the opportunity to think about what's next and what could be.
Yeah.
And, continue to learn so I could have better conversations with my students and with those around me and just stay current.
Cool.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. I look forward to seeing you on season 2.
Ooh. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, so thank you all for taking the time to come and chill with us and listen to what we had to say. And hopefully we've given you some knowledge and some nuggets of technology to go off and use. If you like what you're listening to, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. And I shall see you in the next episode. Peace. 5, 4, 3, 2.